dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I've got another book talk video to share with you guys. And today I'm going to be talking about my favorite books on and about writing. As a writer, it's hard for me to walk past a book when I'm in a bookstore that's about writing. And I have lots of different kinds. I've got, tips and tricks, technical books, other writers telling their stories, and we're going to talk about these. These are in no particular order, except the final one is my all-time favorite book. I've featured it in many book videos before this, so you might already know, but let's just get on into it. The first one is How Not to Write a Novel. It says 200 Classic Mistakes and How to Avoid Them, a misstep-by-misstep guide, and it's by Howard Middlemark and Sandra Newman. I picked this book up probably about 10 years ago because I think, it's one thing to be told what to do, but I find oftentimes it's even more helpful to be told what not to do. And this book has some amazing examples of what not to do. Some of the examples in this book are so ridiculous, you roll your eyes. Some make you laugh out loud. Some are really out there examples, but some are examples that after you read it, you might find yourself doing from time to time. And this book will help you catch yourself the next time you go to do it. It's a very funny book, which I love, and it's helpful. The next book takes a very different approach. It's not written as comedy, and it's not tips so much as it's a workshop in a book. And it's called Writing Down the Bones, Freeing the Writer Within. And I absolutely love this book. There's a lot of zen to this book. There's a lot of creative meditation. This woman, Natalie Goldberg, I guess she's written many books on writing. There's a touch of spirituality to this book, so if that's something you're not interested in, you might want to avoid this. But it's just a beautiful way to help you get inspired to get the words out of you. And I highly recommend it. The next one delves more into that technical side of writing, and it's simply called The Little Red Writing Book. And this is great for all kinds of writers, students, business writers, creative writers. If you just want a bit of a refresher on style and structure and grammar, this is kind of a no-nonsense, get down to business book, and I find it very helpful. I also love that the print is red, very aesthetically pleasing. And yeah, it has great, just technical tips. And I feel like the further we get away from, a classroom setting where we had to learn all about this, the better it is to refresh your memory. I also find it's great for if you're trying to write and you're like, is this the proper way to say something? Is this the proper way to say something? You can just sort of grab it and use it as reference. That's great. Next up from Julia Cameron is The Right to Write, and it says An Invitation and Initiation into the Writing Life. This book I really loved, and it's actually been put on my pile of to reread books because it's been a while since I've read this one, and I know I loved it a lot. One of the things I love about this book is it has a lot of exercises that it invites you to do, so it gets you writing as you're reading, and that's helpful. It's not just telling you things, it's having you do things. And this woman also wrote another book called The Artist's Way. And this book, along with The Artist's Way, I saw in self-help sections of bookstores. And yeah, I thought that was interesting. And I love what it says on the back. It says, we should write because it's human nature to write. Writing claims our world. It makes it directly and specifically our own. We should write because humans are spiritual beings, and writing is a powerful form of prayer and meditation, connecting us both to our own insights and to a higher and deeper level of inner guidance. And I think that's so true. I think that's a lot of the reason why a lot of people find it healing to journal. And I'm one of those people. Like when I'm having a problem and I need to get thoughts out of my head, writing them down is such a helpful and cathartic thing to do. Thoughts get jumbled, but I find writing clears it out. And yeah, so I find this book is great for whether it's journaling or creative writing. It's very helpful, and there's just a lot of great information and exercises in here. So The Right to Write, would recommend. Next up, I don't have the physical copy of the book to hold up right now because I lent it out to a friend, but it's written by the incomparable Margaret Atwood. She's one of my all-time favorite writers, and she wrote a book about writing called Negotiating with the Dead. I love that title. I'm gonna put a picture of the book right here. This book is about her experiences about a lot of different things. If I was to properly talk about this book, the book talk video would be an hour long, and it would be just about this book. And maybe one day I will do that, because this book has meant the world to me and has changed my views on a lot of things in a really positive way. In fact, Margaret Atwood is one of the writers that I love so much that I have not made a video about yet, because the way I feel about her and her work is so big that I don't even know where to begin. I don't know where to start. So maybe we'll start with Negotiating with the Dead once I get that book back. But it's fantastic. It's fantastically written. It's a wonderful read. I mean, what else is there to say? If you love Margaret Atwood, if you love reading about writing and writers, 100% recommend. And the final book I want to talk to you about today is my favorite book of all time. It's the book that I own the most copies of, because I've bought 2 copies for myself. And then I've had people give it to me as gifts because they know how much I love the author, they know how much I love writing, and every time I get a copy from someone, it makes me so happy, because I'm like, you know me. You know me. Anyway, and this is On Writing, a Memoir of the Craft by Stephen King. This book is broken down into 2 parts. The first part is kind of his the retelling of how he became a writer, of when he was a child and when he was, you know, first developing his love for stories and storytelling, and then on through. It talks about how many rejection letters he got before he got published. It talks about that first phone call from his agent where he got a big paycheck, and how, you know, him and his wife had been so poor, and how that phone call changed their lives. And it's just a fantastic read. So that's the first part. Then the second part is some really, 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 really helpful and straightforward tips for making your writing better. He talks about in there that you can't turn a bad writer into a good writer, and you can't turn a great writer into an excellent writer, but you can take a good writer and make them a great writer. And I thought that was so interesting, and I loved that, and I love the tips, and I love everything about this book. This cover of the book is the 10th anniversary edition. This was originally published in 2000. This edition came out in 2010. I'm excited for the 20th anniversary edition that's right around the corner. And yeah, this book changed my life. I would recommend it to anyone who loves Stephen King, anyone who loves to write, anyone who's interested in the process, anyone who's interested in stories. Like, it's so helpful. Even if you only read the first part where he's talking about his experience, you know, if you're not a writer and you're not really interested in the tips, reading about his experience is fantastic. So there you go, you guys. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my favorite books on and about writing. I would love to hear your favorites. If you're a writer and you've read any books that really inspired you or motivated you, I would love to hear about it. So thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye.